On today's episode, we have Adrienne from Passionate Paws talking to us about building a relationship with your dog above all else. We are going to be talking about what is relationship-based training. We're also going to talk about how we can build that relationship with our dog and why is it important.
Welcome to The Woofie Show, the ultimate dog lover's digest. Meet your hosts, Brian and Magda, two dog lovers ready to help you be the best dog parent, unravel the mysteries of canine behavior, and keep you updated on the latest trends in the dog world. This podcast has something for everyone. Get ready for heartwarming stories, expert advice, and a lot of laughs.
Welcome to the show, Adrienne. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and what brings you here to the show?
Thank you for having me. First of all, this is awesome. I've never done this before, so this is great. And my name is Adrienne Gould. I'm a professional dog trainer from Lacombe, Alberta. And I have a training facility there that I've had for just over a year now. I teach all sorts of classes, and I also do in-home lessons. I do pack walks. I'll travel. It's not just like set in stone at my location. And then background? You want a background?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Tell us all about yourself. I'm sure people will be interested to know.
Yeah, I've been doing this a while. So sometimes it's, once upon a time it was a short version. Now it's a little bit longer version. So I'll try to condense it as best as I can. I was 19 and I started fostering for a local rescue, and they started asking me to foster all the dogs with behavioral issues. And I was like, well, yeah, like that's not a problem. And then that was about the time when Cesar Millan came on TV on the National Geographic Channel. And I'd watch, I'd try, I'd see what he would do. And then I tried on my foster dogs, and it was working. And so I was just fixing all these issues with these foster dogs, which was making them more adoptable, and also helping the new adopters manage them a lot better, so that the chance of them coming back into rescue was lower, right? Yeah. And so that's kind of where my journey started, and it kind of just progressed from there. So I was like the dog lady is what everybody called me in the area. They'd ask me all the questions, and then from there there was a dog that came to me, and he was dog aggressive, like very dog aggressive, one I had never come across before. Yeah. And I
guess there's a spectrum of aggression, right?
Yeah.
So that he was like on the high end of like a nightmare dog, like here, go and fix him.
Yeah. I had never seen anything like that before. Yeah. Years like later on, I had found out there's actually 17 types of aggression. It's not it's not like just in one general thing. I didn't know that at the time.
That's interesting. Yeah. A lot of people just think aggression is aggression. And it's like, no, there's different types, right? Yeah. That's a good podcast episode. Maybe we'll do one about that.
I know. And when I say that to people, they're like, what? I'm like 17 kinds. Yeah. It's very interesting. And that's why, kind of a little off topic, but when people call me or we're having a conversation about an aggressive quote unquote dog, I need more detail. Yeah. Right. And it's not a word I don't want to throw around lightly or mislabel a dog, because that could be very detrimental to that dog's life.
That happens a lot on social media and on Facebook. There's so many questions, and people, just state, oh, my dog is aggressive towards dogs or towards kids and things like that. But like, give me more. Like, I need to know, what is the breed of this dog? Like, how old is this dog?
Yeah. What were the circumstances?
Exactly. Like, I need to know all of this background before I can actually evaluate how to help you, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's way more to it. Way more to it. It's a big conversation.
Dog industry is very like surface level, and it's just like, right, let's dig deeper, right?
Yeah. That's my favorite part. Yeah.
And it takes time, right? To get to know the dog, to really understand that dog, and to be able to really tell what the problem is. So then we can go from there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's all good. Like I literally could talk dog all day long, and sometimes you have to keep me on track because I could just ramble for hours. But Yeah. So this dog aggressive dog came to me. He was an owner surrender. I honestly can't remember what the reason was. He came into my home and he was not good with my dogs, and that was a problem. And so I started to seek out help because I was like, this is way beyond my skill level. And I found this trainer in Edmonton, and I went up to see her. She's like, yeah, bring the dog. Like, I'll assess it and we'll see what we can do. I said, okay. So I went up there and she's showing me how to do the things. And I was like, oh, like, this is fantastic. I was like, I wanted to know more. This is great. And then she says, there's a famous dog trainer from the States coming to do a dealing with difficult dogs workshop. You should come and bring him. It's a 2-day workshop. I think it'll be great for you guys. I said, okay, that's fantastic. So we went, and her name was Heather Beck, is the dog trainer. And she was speaking. It was about halfway through day 1. And she was talking, and she worked like teams, right? So like she would work with all the different teams that were there. And
was it based on like the aggression level, or were people just randomly put into groups kind of thing?
Well, it was like, so I brought Coda, was the dog's name. I brought Coda, and then this person brought this dog, and this person brought this dog, right? So the team she was working with were like handler and dog.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so everybody had a different issue that they were dealing with, right? Hence difficult dogs. And she hadn't even got to me yet. And she was just talking and teaching and telling us all of the things we needed to know. And it was, as I was listening to her, it was like this light bulb went off, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I meant to do.
Yeah.
This is why I'm here. And it was, I had just like had this epiphany, and I was like, oh, and so I just kind of seeked out my dog training journey from there. And then, kind of fast forward to now, you know, I've invested literally thousands of dollars into, my career, my education, shadowing other trainers, attending workshops, networking, resourcing, you know, like just all experience, like, cause that's a huge one. Right. And so my rescue background that I did for 8 years, that's where all of my foundation really comes from. And then, you know, like the last, little bit of my career is just, perfecting and dotting my T's better, crossing, you know, like all the lines according to like, customer service, my people skills, marketing, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
so businessy stuff.
Yeah. The business aspect, you know,
which is not as fun as actually working with dogs, right?
No, it's not, but I do enjoy working with people because you have to go through the people to get to the dog. Right. And so if I can't build a relationship with a client, with an owner, I can't help the dog anyway. It's just not going to work. Exactly.
Because you have to pass that knowledge to the person to then continue that work and to succeed eventually, right?
100%. For sure.
Awesome. So what type of training kind of method do you use normally? Do you use depending on a dog and what the problems are and things like that, in terms of, you know, that there's the relationship based methods of training the dog, or positive reinforcement and things like that, or is it conditional training, and what type do you gravitate to? So,
I love that question. I do. Anytime someone asks me that, I'm like, yeah, let's answer that. Because as you know, the dog training industry is, the spectrum is huge, right? And everybody has a different way of doing things, which is normal. We all have a different way of doing everything. So why would this be any different? My method is relationship based. That's kind of solely what I focus on. With that being said, I do use a little bit of everything, right? I don't like to put labels on things, but I'm what you would call a balanced trainer. But what I solely focus on first is, tell me about the dog. What's going on? What are your goals? And then let's assess the dog.
Yeah.
So, because what you tell me could be different than what I see.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when someone is describing something to me over the phone, I'll always say, I can't guarantee this, but it sounds like, your dog is XYZ.
Yeah.
Right. And then they're like, oh, maybe, but then that's a kind of a further conversation, or I'll just say, I just have to see the dog. Right. So I start with a lot of questions.
Yes.
And then I assess the dog. I watch what's happening. So even when people come for just an assessment, as we're having a conversation, I'm observing and watching the dog, because they are the ones that are going to tell me what's going on and where they're at. And then from there, I'm like, okay, show me where you guys are in your training. Like, let's see what your guys' foundation looks like, if you have one. And let's see what that dynamic of the relationship looks like. Right. And then I can give them kind of like a game plan from there. Yeah. So, step one though, is to always build that trust and that relationship between owner and handler. And that it's kind of walking them through it, because I can step in and do it, but then the dog is automatically going to listen to me, because I'm just some stranger that came in and is like, hey, this is what we're doing. And the dog's like, okay.
So you are like new and exciting. Exactly. And then when it comes to the owner, it's just like, we're just going to go back to where we were. Yeah, exactly. And then that's the problem for the owner. So I'm like, okay, this is what I need you to do. And then I walk them through all the steps. Yeah, that's a huge green flag, because I find that a lot of dog trainers kind of overpromise.
Yeah.
We're going to get you results in 2 weeks and things like that. And it's like, you can't guarantee that.
Never.
You don't know where the dog's going to be at in 2 weeks' time, right?
Yeah.
And the owner has to put in the work as well. So it's hugely dependent on the owner. That's awesome. I mean, we don't like to put labels either on training, but I know that a lot of people do.
I know. And then you got to roll with it, right?
Yeah. And it's just like, I like to use a little bit of everything. Like, it's just dependent, right? On the situation and where we at. And it's bad to kind of stick to one value of like, oh, you only have to use positive reinforcement because that is the way and that's what science tells us. And, but sometimes like science can be wrong, because science doesn't live in the real world. Yeah,
because you're looking at the dog and the dog is telling you, hey, what's going on here? And that's why one of my favorite dog quotes is, dogs do speak, but only to those who know how to listen.
Yeah.
Right. So amazing. The dog is communicating with us, but are we paying attention?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you said that you were primarily a relationship-based trainer.
Yeah.
That's the method that you use. So are you able to tell us how is that different or similar to maybe some of the most common training methods out there? Like, what makes it to be a relationship-based training method?
So, and just please correct me if I misunderstand the question.
Okay.
So the reason I chose relationship-based, or what makes it relationship-based?
What makes it a relationship-based
I
training?
need to fix the relationship between the dog and the handler, or dog and owner, before we can do anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Because a lot of the time, if we tell people, I'm a relationship-based trainer, they will be like, okay, what does that mean though? Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my question.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
What does it mean?
Yeah. So, let's say, for example, you and I will, like we just met, like we've just been talking over email. You and I just met, and every time I ask you to go for coffee, I give you $100.
Right.
Well, you're going to say yes every time, right? Because you're like, I get $100. Yeah. I'm
unless you're an absolute horrible person.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, it's not worth $100.
Yeah. Right. So I give you $100 bill every time we have coffee. Great. And then let's say, I have to move. I need help moving all my stuff. Could you come help me move? And you're like, well, no, because we're not really friends and we're not going for coffee. So you're not going to give me $100.
Right.
Right. And so now the value of that friendship or relationship there isn't really value to it.
Yeah.
Right. You go for coffee with me. Yeah, exactly. Cause I give you $100. And so, like when it comes to, owners and their dogs, it's like, are we bribing them? That's one thing that I look at. Are we only giving treats to our dog when we are asking them to do something? And two, does the dog actually want to do it for the owner?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a difference between doing it because you're getting $100 and there's a difference because you want to, because we're developing a friendship.
Yeah.
Right?
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so, we have to try to find the missing links in the chain of the whole relationship.
Yeah.
Right. So we need to turn it to bribes and like, I guess I'll do it, into, I want to do it for you because we're best friends and I love you so much.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like, that's what I want. I want the dog to be like, yeah, let's do this because I love you and you're amazing. And we do everything together. Not because like,
I'm going to get something out of it.
What do you got?
Yeah.
You got the goods? Because if you don't got the goods, I'm not doing it. Right. And then the dog blows you off. And so that's kind of where I think the relationship answer comes into play.
That's awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to know. Is like, what makes it different? But so that's one of like the negatives, I guess, of positive reinforcement is the idea that we are bribing our dog, right? And unless you have that treat or that cookie, like your dog will just not work for you. They'll be like, nah. Don't want to anymore.
Well, and then what happens when the dog is too shut down or not food motivated at all?
Yeah.
What happens then? And so that's where you have to start thinking outside the box and you got to find another way. You got to find a different way.
Yeah. So today's episode is all about building a relationship above all else with your dog. Would you be able to say why is it, we kind of already gone through that, but why is it so important for dog parents to build that relationship with their dog? I personally think, especially nowadays, like a lot of people want to go out with their dog, right? We want to take our dogs everywhere. Yeah. We want to go to the patio. I know like that's become quite a popular thing, is to take your dog to patios, to breweries. We want to go hiking. We want to go downtown. We want to go here. We want to go there. And we need our dogs to listen to us in those different environments, those different circumstances, those different scenarios. If we don't have a relationship with our dog, why would they listen to us? Yeah. Right.
And it's for safety, because safety is so important to me. It's for safety of the dog, and safety of the general public, right? We need, everybody just kind of needs to fall in line. And then you get to enjoy your dog more, because who doesn't want to be with their dog all day long? Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
That's kind of how
unless you don't have the relationship with your dog, and then you just don't want to spend time with them. Right. But then there's a question whether you should actually own the dog or not. Yeah. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah. No, absolutely. But like if you don't have that relationship and you go downtown Calgary, walking, down a busy street, and your dog's freaking out because you didn't condition them to the sounds and the noises. And then, now you don't have a relationship, so they don't trust you. And so now they're not looking to you for direction, and you can't, help calm them down, because they're like, you lied to me. Right. And now all of a sudden we've got a big problem, and the dog's all sketching out, and maybe it takes off, and now we've got bigger issues. So
I think that's number one problem that people actually do have out there is the idea that the dog doesn't listen to them. Right. So there you go, people, like do the relationship-based training. And then if you have that relationship, then things should be going smoother, right? And you will enjoy your dog. Do you have any physical tips of how can a new dog owner build that relationship with their dog?
I would have to say boundaries. Yeah. Boundaries and structure are really important. Whether it's a puppy or an adult, whatever age you're bringing home, setting those boundaries and giving that dog structure is probably the best way to develop that relationship, because when you're developing those boundaries, you're kind of saying to the dog, like, hey, here are the rules and here are the expectations. And this is what I need you to do. Then the dog goes, okay, and then once they actually understand what's going on, they don't have time to get into trouble or make bad choices because those expectations were set from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips of how people can potentially set those boundaries?
Yeah. So one, and I hope this makes sense. It's really sometimes like I'm a hands-on kind of person.
Yeah,
Like,
I know it's very hard to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, so setting boundaries and expectations is very important. We can all agree on that. But it's like, is there, let's say we are starting with a clean slate, like it's a new puppy that you bring home day one. What do you do? How do you go about setting those boundaries?
Bed and break. That's the number one exercise I start with any dog, any puppy. I don't care what age. Bed is the boundary. So it can be like a raised bed, a carpet, a blanket, a mat. And
would you say it's like a place?
Yeah.
Almost, right?
Place. Yeah. I have a lot of clients that call it place. Some call it mat. You could call it pineapple if you wanted to, right?
Exactly. Dogs don't understand English.
Don't understand that. I always joke to my husband, I said, one day I'm going to train a dog in fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
And he laughs at me and I'm like, well, I don't know what it is. So, anyway, so bed is the boundary, a place. And then break is your release command, right? So just letting the dog know that, do you ever make your dog wait to eat or wait to take the bone, right? So what word do you use for that?
Well, I get her to wait in place first, and then I reward it with the bone.
What do you say? Do you say anything verbally to her?
I just go, okay, go take it.
Yeah, so
take it.
Okay, yeah. So that's your release command, right? So I just use break as the release command because it's not a word that
you use all the time. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so if
we should probably change the word because we normally just go, okay, take it.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay.
Yeah. Because, and that used to be my word years and years ago too, was okay. And then I learned.
I use okay all the time. So and it's like your dog's like, okay, what?
And then they're like, bye, peace, and you're like, no, that's not what I meant. So bed and break, super simple. Get the dog on the boundary, get the dog off the boundary. So bed, break. And I use treats or food in the beginning. And then you phase them out.
Yeah.
Right. And so, do I use food? Yeah, absolutely. I do.
Even though you're a balanced trainer, which many are not comfortable with that.
Yeah. I use everything, and it's like I said, let's say,
why should you put labels and boundaries and like kind of.
Exactly. Like I've got all these tools in my toolbox and I just take out what I need when I need it. Yeah. It's not a one size fits all type of deal. And it was like I had mentioned earlier, those shut down dogs that don't take food. I can still teach bed and break with that dog without food. It's just, you have to be more eccentric with your body language, right? And you have to be more like, yeah, let's go do this. And I use a little bit of leash pressure and body and direction and movement. And, so it's a little more work. But it's so worth it. Like once you start to see them really pick things up and they're like, oh yeah, I'll follow you. Then you're like, okay, yeah, here we go.
That's really interesting that you mentioned just now, body language.
Yeah.
Like I can't, I'm not a dog trainer, but I can't stress enough how important that is, right? Your dog doesn't really react to the words as such as what you say, but it's more about the tone, right? And the body and just they constantly watch you. That's the only way that they learn. So a lot of people kind of, break. And it's like, no, you have to be more excited.
Yeah, because if you're like bed, break, your dog's like, why would your dog want to do that? Why would they want to do that? You have to be into it just like they are when you want them to be into it. It's like one of the dog trainers, pardon me, that I follow. I've taken his workshop a couple times. Jack, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's all about like, don't be fake with your dog because your dog's going to call you out on it every time. Right. So if you're like, oh, that's a good boy, your dog's like, am I a good boy? Because it doesn't seem like I'm a good boy. And you have to like kind of be in it with them, you know, live in the moment with your dog, because that's how they look at things is like, what are we doing right now?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'm not really teaching the dog, I'm teaching and coaching the human, you know, like, hey, like, let's get a little more into it. And your dog isn't really understanding you because your tone is off, or, hey, you need to move your body a little bit, because dogs communicate with each other with body language, you know? And so like, we're not another dog, but we can mimic those behaviors to help them understand what we're asking them to do.
Yeah. So do you have any, do you come across any obstacles when it comes to building that bond and that relationship with a dog?
Like building a relationship, like me building the relationship, or the owner?
Pet, the pet parent, I guess we're talking about that relationship, right?
For sure. I just wanted to clarify. I would probably have to say a lot of people will hang on to the past with their dog, especially when like a traumatic experience has happened, or like, for example, let's just say their dog attacked another dog, or vice versa. Their dog got attacked by another dog, and now we've got like this defensive dog, and the owner's been traumatized, and now the dog reacts, you know, differently. And so I would say probably one of the biggest obstacles that I come across is the owner not being able to let go of the past. And so, you know, I just say to them, listen, like, I know it happened and it sucks. Believe me, I've been there. I've witnessed things, but if we don't let it go, we can't move on, because your dog can read you. And if you're hanging on to it, your dog's going to hang on to it. And so
it's almost as if they need the therapy.
Yeah.
First,
You know, I wonder at times if I shouldn't have taken like a psychology degree at the same time, because, you know, over the years, I've just learned, you know, how to coach people, because they're the ones that need it. So I need to be able to coach you to be there for your dog the right way. Yeah. Right. And so, a lot of people aren't aware of that. And as soon as I say that to them, that sentence, it's like, they're like, whoa, you're right.
Like someone called me out on it, right?
Yeah. But I don't think a lot of people just aren't aware that that's what they're doing. Yeah. And as soon as you point it out to them, they're like, you're right. You know?
It's like sometimes people need a reality check, right? Almost. And it's quite nice that you are able to call them out on it, and to have that confidence to say that to the dog parent, right? Be like, you know, you are being an idiot. Like, stop holding on to the past. Yeah. Let's move on from it, right?
Yeah. We just need to move forward, because if you don't move forward, your dog's not going to move forward either. But very nicely. I mean,
I'm sure you say it in a better way, right? But like, if you're trying to get straight to the point, it's like, you know, stop being an idiot.
I try to keep things pretty blunt to the point, but nicely.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could have called them many other things, but but right. So is there any other kind of obstacles or?
No, I would probably say that's the number one obstacle. Like, sometimes I have to change my coaching tactics, right? Like, the way I explain, you know, like, let's say bed and break to you might not be the way that I explain it to Bobby, because Bobby doesn't understand it the way that I showed you. And like, so I need to show Bobby a different way. Right. And so sometimes it's just about, perception. Yeah. Right. Sometimes I just have to change people's perception, because, it's not going to be the same for everybody, just like dogs, right? Yeah. Like, every dog learns differently. I'm not going to use the same method for every dog. We're the same way. We're no different.
Yeah. When it comes to like tangible ways of building that relationship, would you say that spending time with that dog is probably the most important thing that you can do?
Yeah. 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 You know, even if it's for 5 minutes at a time, you know, and I tell my clients that all the time, you know,
a lot of people say, oh, I don't have time for training. I don't have the resources for training. But in reality, I feel like it's all just excuses.
Yeah.
That you can make time. It doesn't have to be an hour-long session, right? Like it can be 5 minutes at a time. It can be when you feed your dog. So yeah, like it's a lot of people will ask, you know, what else can I do to improve that relationship?
Yeah. So I always say, well, what are you doing right now? Right. And so, let's say, for example, an owner tells me, well, I play fetch outside with my dog for 20 minutes a day. Okay, well, what does the quality of that fetch exercise look like? Are we on our phone and just chucking the ball like a human chuck it? Or are we actually, you know, in the moment with your dog, and are there boundaries to that game?
Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, you could take something as simple as, the fetch as an activity, and instead of being a human chuck it, if you slow it down and you start to add a little bit more boundaries to it, you could actually tire them out quicker, because now we're adding a mental factor in there instead of just physical. Right now, it's not just physical exercise, it's mental exercise. Yeah. So it maybe instead of throwing the ball, you know, 40 times, we throw it 10 times.
Yeah. And
the dog could actually be more tired because we made the dog stop and think about what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's quality over quantity.
Yeah.
I always say that to my clients.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like she really likes lying down on people's clothes. So there you go.
Okay. I'm okay
She's
with that.
She's a little dirty. But yeah, I find that a lot too with people taking their dog to a dog park. Like the quality of how people engage with their dog is just not quite there. Like they don't understand that time, you know, you can do many things with your dog. For instance, when we play fetch, I ask Maple to do certain tricks beforehand, right? I'll tell her to sit and down and go around me to get the ball and things like that. And I feel like that really does build that bond and relationship a lot more, rather than just mindless throwing of the ball.
Exactly, being a human chuck it. Yeah.
I've never heard that before, but that's great. Being a human chuck it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. So just be a bit more proactive, I guess, and a bit more mindful, and have that quality activities with your dog rather than just doing things mindlessly.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too is, you know, when I ask people, well, what are you already doing with your dog and what does your day look like? Because that's important too, because not everybody has a 9-to-5 job. Yeah. Right. There's some people work shift work. Some people, work away. Some people don't. Like, it just kind of depends. Right. And so let's say, excuse me, if you're, you know, busy family with kids, like I have kids, I get it, you know, so in the morning, you know, what's the dog doing? Is he kind of wandering around mindlessly? Put the dog on bed and that's their job. That's you working them for the 15 minutes before you leave the house. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You know, so like just incorporate your daily routine in with what you need to do with your dog. And that's why I always say to people, like, you don't need to add extra. Yeah. Take what you're already doing and implement your dog into your schedule.
Simplifying things almost. Yeah. Because there's this huge misconception that your dog has to do things all of the time and they have to be engaged all of the time, which is not true.
Oh my goodness, thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. Yes.
It's like if you're going to engage your dog all the time, you will actually just have a super frustrated and not quite mentally stable dog that constantly thinks that they need to be doing things all the time. And it's like you're not building that relationship either, because there's no quality in that day, right? Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, thank you for saying that, because like we can't keep our dog busy 24/7. It's not possible, nor should we. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
Right. They need downtime just like we need downtime.
Yeah.
And so if we're constantly keeping our dogs occupied 24/7, well, you're just building stamina. And now you're just building this like, athlete that needs to be doing stuff all the time. And that's not healthy either. Your dog has to learn how to shut off.
Yeah.
Right. And
like
so
self-regulate.
yes,
Right?
self-regulation. And a lot of the times when a dog doesn't know how to shut off on its own, it's because they don't have proper coping skills. So now we have to teach the dog coping skills.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like I actually, I've suffered from anxiety for as far long as I can remember. And, 20 years ago, my anxiety attacks were through the roof. Like I dropped to the floor.
Wow.
They were so bad. And then after, getting some help and talking to doctors and therapists and whatnot, I've developed coping skills over the years that works for me, right? Because you got to find what works for you.
Yeah.
And now I that doesn't happen to me anymore because I manage it and I know what to do when I start to feel
how to self-regulate, right? So it's kind of the same for a dog.
Yeah. Your dog shouldn't be pacing all the time. Your dog shouldn't be bugging you. Hey, what are we doing now? Let's do this. Let's do that. No, it's okay to just chill.
Yeah.
Just exist. Just sit there.
Yeah.
And
I sometimes feel my dog's depressed, to be honest. I'm like, is she depressed? She's just so calm. Like she just sits there.
No, she knows how to self-regulate. That's a healthy decision.
Yeah.
That's a healthy decision.
Like we don't have to be doing things all of the time. Like it's good just for you to sit there. Like it's actually more tiring for her sometimes, I think, to just sit there and don't do anything. Just,
it's so hard. It's so hard. That's
mind
like
her business.
Yeah. I give my clients, I call it the 1 to 5 minute exercise. And your dog has to sit for the X amount of time that you've set. And you have to build it up to 5 minutes. So maybe we only start at 15 seconds because that's all the dog can handle. That's okay.
Yeah.
We start at 15 seconds and we build and build and build and build up to a goal of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And a lot of owners are like, oh, my dog just has to sit. Yeah, that's easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. Yeah. So, and then, I always tell my clients, do it at home first because the dog is used to all the distractions and things. So it'll be easier to do it at home.
Yeah.
And then when the dog gets really good at it at home, go do it somewhere else.
Yes.
Right. But go back down to maybe fit that 15 seconds where you started, because now we have different expectations.
Yeah.
Right. We're not at home. It's not easier for the dog. Right. And then you build it there. So, I think every dog needs to learn how to regulate itself, and every dog should have that off switch. Hence bed and break, that I build off of that that can be your dog's off switch.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, my mind's just going like all over the place, really. Like, oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about just in that.
Yes.
So how can self-regulation help someone build a relationship?
Boundaries. It's a boundary.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Simple.
I don't think I could make it much simpler than that. And I know you've mentioned this before. Simplify things. You've said that. And us as humans, we like to complicate things.
Oh yeah.
Boy, do we like to complicate things, and we overthink things. And you know what? At the end of the day, these dogs, these companions of ours, they're simple creatures. We're the ones that make it complicated, right? And so if you are just, way less complicated to your dog's going to be like, oh, yeah, that's what you've been trying to tell me.
Now things are a little bit more black and white rather than gray, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's important for them to build that boundary and to see how things work in human world, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And people also, they don't understand how different, what difference it makes a change of environment. As well. They think that, oh, my dog's an angel, in your house, but then bring it to someone else's house, see how your dog reacts then. It's completely different, right? Or if you bring your dog to a store or whatever, you change the environment, your dog's going to just I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
We are somewhere else. This is not normal, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's very important also to just understand that just because your dog's an angel in your own house doesn't mean they're an angel everywhere else, right?
Yes. And those are the calls that I get.
Yeah.
I could almost guarantee you that 80% of the calls that I get, well, my dog is really good at home, but when we leave the house, well, my dog's great at home, but, you know, and then there's all these narratives to it. But
sometimes people don't want to leave that comfort zone either.
Yeah.
They're just like, okay, we are good at home and that should be good enough.
Yeah.
But it's like how you meant to enrich your dog's life and really build that dog to be balanced and well-behaved in different environments if you don't give them that opportunity to fail and then improve on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because
like, why are you so scared of giving that dog an opportunity to actually learn a skill?
I think people are scared they're going to get judged. You know, a lot of people are going to look at them, or when their dog acts out, maybe they just don't simply know what to do. I know that's a lot of it. They're like, well, my dog does this and I don't know what to do, you know? Yeah. But this is our world, and we're having these dogs live in our world and then expecting them to just know what they're supposed to do. And they don't. That's not fair. We have to teach them how to live in our world, because our world is not what's normal for them. Yeah. And so we have to build that trust, build that relationship, you know, condition them to different environments and noises and sounds. And so that by doing that, we are able to give them a better quality life and maybe even fulfill their needs a little bit better because we took the time to do that. Yeah. Right. Otherwise now they're just living in a box. Yeah. And they're not living up to their full potential.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the time people's expectations of a dog is too high. It's like, I want a dog to just come into my house as a puppy at 8 weeks old or whatever and just know things. And it's like, it's not going to work. Like, puppies are a lot of work.
Yes.
Like, I didn't realize this. Like, you know, she's our first puppy. And I honestly didn't work for 2 months because I was like constantly learning. I was on various YouTube channels and reading books and magazines and talking to people and trainers, you know, and trying to educate myself of how can I be a better person? How can I train my dog to actually be a good dog, right? Yeah. And a lot of people just don't take that time. They just expect their dog to know how to be potty trained after a week or two.
Which is not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair. Because dogs meant to live in the wild and they just pee and poop wherever they go. And that's exactly how they treat your house, unless you teach it the boundaries, right?
Yeah. Potty training is just a boundary. Yeah. Right? Everything is a boundary. Yeah.
People are scared to use that word, though.
Yes, and I don't understand
why. In a positive
why.
reinforcement environment, right? Like, I'm not dissing positive reinforcement at all.
No, not at all.
You know, but we also don't like using labels. But a boundary is very important, and people they're scared to use that word because they feel like the boundary is almost like a punishment.
And it's not.
It's not.
It's not. It's just like, you know, I have a 3-year-old. And so like we have boundaries in the house for his safety. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's not a negative thing. Yeah. It's literally like, hey, you can't climb on top of the cupboard because you could fall off and you could break an arm. Yeah. What's wrong with that boundary? Yeah. You know, like we have to have boundaries and rules and expectations because otherwise we are not going to function in the world. It's just going to be a Wild West.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is going to happen, right? It's like some people are uncomfortable with even a leash pressure. And it's like, why? Like, I'm creating a boundary. Like, I don't want you to go there. Like, I'm going to apply a leash pressure. To me, that's fair. It's not a punishment. It's just something that I'm trying to teach my dog. And a lot of the time, as you said, people feel like they're going to get judged. Mm-hmm. They're going to also get judged for the tools that they use. Yeah. And things like that. So, but these tools and methods exist so that we can build that trust and we can build the boundaries and the relationship with our dog, right?
Well, it could also, these tools and these methods, again, not to put label on things, but they can give dogs more freedom. They can give dogs a better quality of life.
Yeah.
You know, whereas if I can't walk the dog, then the dog doesn't go out.
Yes.
Right. And so like, why wouldn't,
It's not fair.
why wouldn't I want that dog to be able to go for a walk with its owner? Because the owner feels confident it can control the dog. And if the owner doesn't have that, if I can't give the owner that power, they're not going to take the dog out.
Control.
Right?
Another word people are scared of, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like you need to have control of your dog for safety.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I have senior clients. That dog can't be bringing them down and breaking a hip.
Yes.
You know, that's huge. And so, you know, like, yes, we do use, I use all the tools, but I don't stick to one, like, oh, we must use this, and this. Like I start down here and
there's an escalation, right?
And I work my way up. And it also depends on what the owner's comfortable with. Like if you tell me I'm not comfortable with this tool, that's fine. We don't have to use it.
Yeah.
We can still achieve the things you want to achieve. It just might take a little longer.
Yeah.
That's all. It's not a big deal.
Exactly.
But yeah, just kind of bringing it back around to that judgment thing. I say almost every class I have, even with repeat clients, this is a judgment-free space. You get to feel vulnerable here. You don't get to judge anybody here. This is a judgment-free space. This is a safe space. And I say that in all my classes because I don't want anybody to walk away feeling like somebody judged them for what their dog did or for what they did or for what tool they used or what they did or didn't do. And that is something that is very, very important to me.
I guess we all are on our own journey.
Oh,
with our
100%.
dog, right?
Yeah.
And just because your dog's doing well with this and that, and they're struggling with another thing, doesn't mean that another dog and another family or a team of people, right? An owner and a dog will be on the same journey and, you know, have the same problems and things like that. So it's very much so individual to everybody, right?
Yeah. Don't focus on what.
Yeah.
Why
Why would we judge?
Yeah.
And it happens online all the time when people ask questions,
yeah,
right?
That's
it's like, hey, I have a problem with this and that. And then you just see all these judgmental things like, oh, you should not do this. You should not do that. And it's like,
hold on a minute here.
do you know these people?
Yeah.
Like, are you them? You know, they're just being vulnerable, sharing these problems that they're having. And it's creating this really toxic environment where people are genuinely scared to ask anything or share anything and be completely transparent about their situation, which is detrimental to themselves and the dog. And it's just not fair. It's like, why do we do that?
It's not. I really wish people online would just kind of take a step back and you know, either ask different questions or don't be so quick
to judge,
right? Like you don't know, and you know, maybe they don't know. Maybe it's lack of education, and we've all been there. Like. We are all learning and growing. We're all on our own journey, whether you have a dog or you don't have a dog, you know? And so, I just wish people would just not be so quick, you know, just hold on a second here. And, I see that all the time, like my pack walks that I do. So I get phone calls or messages or emails. Well, I really want to go, but my dog will just disrupt the whole group.
That's okay.
Listen, guess what? You are not the only one. And then they show up and their dog does a lot better than they thought. Yeah. Or, you know, their dog is a little disruptive, but that's okay. Cause we just deal with it. That's why they're there. We fix it. And, I stop the whole group. When someone struggles, I stop everybody because we're a pack. We're in this together. And, you know, I'll say, yeah, we're dealing with this dog right now, but guess what? all the other dogs are practicing impulse control.
Yeah.
And now we're working on a distraction.
Yeah.
And so like, it's beneficial for everybody anyway. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And then the other thing I'll say to them is you look at this group, you're new. A lot of these people are regulars. You look at this group and you go, oh man, like these dogs are perfect. Guess what? Every single one of them was in your shoes not that long ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Because they won,
Yeah.
right? Like it's
Yeah.
a new thing. Your dog doesn't know how to react or how to behave. It's completely normal.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like people think that if your dog's misbehaving or reacting to something, like that's such a bad thing. And it's like, it's not a bad thing. It's just, it gives you that clue there's something to work on here, right?
Yeah. It's an opportunity. It's learning opportunity.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it tells me information about the dog. The dog is giving me information about what it does or doesn't need.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is building that relationship.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
So like, let's peel those onion layers back. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome. So, okay. Let's talk about maybe if you have any specific, maybe success stories of when you have helped someone with a particularly difficult situation to work through that relationship. For instance, if there was someone who was really frustrated with their dog and they were just like, I think I'm going to have to give this dog away. I'm going to put it into a shelter because I just can't deal with this dog. Have you ever had a situation where you have helped someone overcome those difficulties and improve their relationship?
Yeah. And I'm going to give you this example just because literally this morning I read it on my phone when I was just kind of checking my notifications. And so I have this one client and she has a dog. Sorry, I'm not
fine.
used to talking this much.
That's okay.
She has a dog that is very insecure, very unsure. I met her, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 2. I can't remember. COVID, right? COVID just did things to time.
Oh yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and then all the 2 or 3 years just kind of merged together.
oh, it's like, well, that was just a year. And it's like, no, that was 3 years. And you're like, whoa.
I know.
So,
and then everyone got dogs,
yes,
right? During COVID time.
Dogs, yeah.
COVID dogs are just, yeah.
Yeah. So
that's another topic too.
Right. Yeah. So this client, she came to me, and she started doing pack walks. Her dog was very insecure, very timid. And if a dog got too close, like she would react. Tail tucked, body language was like, shrinking, it just make me disappear, the whole 9 yards. And she kept saying, well, like she'll never be, a little more comfortable. She'll never be able to walk safely past another dog. She'll never be able to just kind of let things go.
She was like putting limitations on that dog almost from the start, right?
Yes. And she was. And I had to have multiple conversations with her and just say, listen, it's okay if she was like that then, but that was yesterday. Today is a new day.
Yeah.
And today we're going to teach her how to move forward.
Yeah.
Right. And so, by coaching her through the pack walks, and then she joined a couple other, of my classes. I noticed her confidence level as a handler start to shift. She wasn't so negative or dwelling on the past. She was looking forward to like, oh, well, we did this today.
Yeah.
Oh, it's getting better. As she started to see, that her dog's tail kind of come back out. And, fast forward to now, she said to me this morning, without your coaching and your classes, I don't think we would be where we are. And so now this dog that used to not be able to walk past another dog now attends my structured daycare, and she actually plays with other dogs.
Wow.
So
you can just see that confidence, right?
Yeah, because
it's so heartwarming. It's like, we can go from this nervous thing to someone who has blossomed into such a good dog, right?
Yeah, it gives me chills because I remember meeting them for the first time and how shut down that dog was. Yeah. And then like I had her in structured daycare last week, and I was like, who is this dog? Like, this is not the same dog. And just for her owner to be able to be like, I can take her more places and we can do more things, like I get emotional.
Yeah, it just gives you so much joy, right? For that person as well. Yeah,
I'm just so happy for them as a team. Like, just to watch that transformation.
Able to change their lives, basically.
I helped them, but she did the work. Yeah. I don't like to take credit, but
you should.
Oh, well,
it's
thank you.
Deserved.
Thank you.
People really need to reach out to professionals like yourself.
It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah. Don't be so proud.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't
feel judged.
Don't feel judged.
Yeah. Let's just stop all this toxic nonsense and kind of just, reach out to people to have a better relationship with our dogs.
Yeah. That's what I want. I don't do this job for the money. Goodness, there's times where clients have come to me and been like, Adrienne, I forgot to pay you. And I'm like, oh yeah. Like I'm here for you guys, for your dog. And that's my passion. Yeah. So
that's the whole name behind your business.
Yeah, that's why I named it that.
That's amazing. So, okay. I feel like we have kind of covered, the whole subject about creating a bond, a relationship with your dog. It was amazing having you.
Thank you for having me.
Would you be able to share with us where people can maybe find you and connect with you?
Yeah. Facebook.
What's your handles? People need to know.
Oh my goodness.
Do you know?
No, I don't know that stuff.
Oh, we're gonna just put it at the bottom of the video.
I'm sorry, like those terms. Like, I have Facebook. If you just look up Passionate Paws.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. People will know what to do.
Yeah. If it helps, it's a purple and gray logo.
Okay. And Instagram?
Yep. I think it's Passionate Paws LTD on Instagram. And I've got a website. I'm not going to lie, it's not updated. I need to update it. But there's a website, and then email. You could reach out through email at Adrienne@passionatepaws.ca, or like Google. I'm on Google. Find me on there. Call me, text me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you are able to travel to people as well. So you mainly work within Calgary area and
all of central Alberta. Yeah. Honestly, like I've driven to Lethbridge for people. I've driven to Fort McMurray. I've driven to Innisfail, Wetaskiwin, Edmonton, Ponoka, like Rocky Mountain House.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So Adrienne deals mainly with relationship-based training. So she wants to connect the dog and the owner and just make your lives better. So yeah, go and contact her, or if you want to hang out or ask a question, or if you need help, or talk dog.
I'll talk dog all day long.
So thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's it for today, you guys. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. We really loved having Adrienne on the show to explain all about relationship-based training and how we can build that bond with our dog. There was a lot of thought-provoking things that came up in this episode, and I hope you liked it. If you have, make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel and leave us a like below, so we can provide you with more content like this in the future. Thank you once again for listening, and bye for now.